I'm now going to move on to the Voltaire Human Rights Award for 2023. And when we called for nominations for this year's Voltaire Award, it's fair to say that we received an incredible outpouring of support and love for our winner, Sophie Trevitt. I've been involved in Liberty Victoria for well over a decade, and I've never seen anything like it. When I spoke with Sophie and her partner Tom about the award, and when Sophie graciously accepted it, she knew she might not be able to be here with us tonight. But she wanted to use the award to raise attention for the causes that she cared about and had done so much work in relation to, and she did. She tragically passed away on the 27th of July 2023 from brain cancer, and she was 32. I'd like to acknowledge Sophie's family here tonight, her mother Anne Trevitt and her aunt Elizabeth Pryor Johnson. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sophie was the Executive Officer of Change the Record. She was the ACT co-chair of Australian Lawyers for Human Rights, and she'd worked for the North Australian Aboriginal Justice Agency up north. She said this: "I've never witnessed anything crueler than when working as a lawyer for children in prison." Sophie was a leader, a mentor, and brought what was described as a gentle tenacity to her work. Just last week, the ACT announced it will increase the minimum age of criminal responsibility to 14 by 2025. Sophie's legacy will be to save countless children from irreparable harm. And because we know that prison is criminogenic, her legacy will also be to keep the community safer. Sadly, in Victoria, our government's only committed to raise the age to 12 in the near future, and there's a notional commitment to 14 by 2027, but we know that's a long way away and many things could happen, and it already appears there'll be carve-outs to that raising of the age. So I commend Sophie's articles to you to read about her work. When the Voltaire Award was announced, she penned an article for The Guardian entitled "Not Caging Children Under 14 is the bare minimum we can do to not torture kids." And she said in that article, "We are all humans worthy of love and care." And she wrote of her time in the Alice Springs, "I watched smart, funny, naughty children transform into desperately unhappy, terrified teenagers. I would go to bed at the end of the day full of fear that I would have one less child in my care the following morning." There doesn't have to be beatings and torture or for caging children to be profoundly harmful, although this can and does happen too. Taking children away from their families, removing them from their sense of self and belonging are just some ways in which children are frequently and repeatedly hurt by the state. Cheryl Axelby, co-chair of Change the Record and is in Adelaide, has written this about Sophie. She's a good friend of Sophie, and she's asked this to be read this evening. "Sophie was a very inspirational and committed sister girl. I call Sophie my sister girl because we saw each other more than just colleagues. It's a respectful Aboriginal term that shows she was considered as family. Sophie was a staunch advocate in advancing the rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of Australia. This is what made our connection so strong. It was more than a privilege to have worked alongside Sophie. To the many who knew her, she was softly spoken, very articulate, and had such a big heart and felt the pains of injustice. Sophie is one of those unique and inspiring leaders, one of those very rare gems who worked very hard and was most comfortable working behind the scenes. However, the impact of her work and her influence was far-reaching. Sophie's work at Change the Record, especially with raising the age, has already started to have a ripple effect. ACT to 14 years and Northern Territory to 12. It's just a matter of time before we see other states and territories embrace such an important and long-lasting change. Sophie's clear message to the remaining states and territories is to raise the age to 14. In the eyes of Change the Record and Sophie's, raising the age will make a very real difference and can break the intergenerational cycle of incarceration for First Peoples of Australia. It gives the younger generation an opportunity to be free of criminalisation. Imagine Australia, a young Aboriginal male or female, being able to complete school like other Australians rather than being imprisoned at age 10. I can just hear Sophie now. Sophie worked in the Aboriginal Legal Service in the Northern Territory and saw firsthand the terrible conditions young people were living in. There is still more commitment we are yet to see to change these archaic laws and to see more investment into early intervention and diversion so young people can access therapeutic rather than criminalised responses. Sophie always advocates children need love, support and guidance. Tonight, I send my love to all of Sophie's family, her partner Tom, and to her amazing friends and colleagues, and know how proud you must all be feeling. Congratulations, my inspiring sis Sophie. We know you will be blushing and try and deflect attention from yourself tonight, as that is the kind of person you are, always thinking of others. Well, tonight, Soph, we celebrate you and are very proud to have been awarded, this very deserving award. Missing you and our good yarns, we used to have heaps. I'll always have the many wonderful memories of you, especially your big, beautiful smile to give me the strength to carry me through to tackle the future justice challenges we face. Love always from Cheryl and your Change the Record family. Monique Hurley, Managing Lawyer at the Human Rights Law Centre, is at the Sisters Inside conference, and she's also written this about Sophie. Sophie was a dear friend, an absolute privilege to work alongside. Her eyes would sparkle while scheming, and her strategic advocacy skills were second to none. Her smile, her brightness, her courage, her unwavering commitment to justice, and her deep knowledge of how to bring about systemic change are all dearly missed. A trailblazer for raising the age, Sophie had a real and lasting impact on the world, with children now and in the future better off because of her and her work. We're going to now play two videos. The first is an artwork named Agonistes by Hoda Afshar that features Sophie, and then there's a tribute to Sophie by Senator Larissa Waters in the Senate on the 31st of July 2023. So we'll play those now.
It was probably about a year and a half that I went through this period of going to work and having to, sneak out to have a panic attack, and then going back into work, sneaking out to talk to someone from the media to feel more ethically okay and connected. I think when you are required to do things in secret, the whole problem that you're trying to expose is that things are being done in secret. It creates this inevitable tension. I became really concerned that that there would be a death and that a child would die in detention while I was representing them. There was one child who was incredibly articulate, and that young person transformed from being a person I could have those kind of conversations with to someone who talked about the white devils in the prison, who became increasingly violent in the way he talked about the guards and talked about white people in general, because he had been so beaten down by the conditions in youth detention. The sorts of conditions that the kids were exposed to were barbaric, but they were also, I would describe them as being akin to torture. Children were reporting assaults and batteries by prison guards, but also there were a period of time where children were being kept locked in their cells for almost entire day periods, sometimes multiple days on end. I decided that there was also something morally wrong with continuing to work in that environment if I didn't feel that I could actually do anything to protect those kids. So I tried everything I could think of, and I still wasn't able to protect their rights.
Thank you so very much, everyone. Last week we learned the very sad news that Sophie Trevitt, a former Greens staffer, award-winning human rights lawyer who led the charge to raise the age of criminal responsibility and a proud warrior for social justice and climate action, had lost her short battle with brain cancer. Sophie was just 32, but what Sophie managed to pack into those 32 years is a lesson for all of us in how to make every moment count. In the heartfelt tributes that have flowed since her death, one theme emerges. Sophie made you a better person. Sophie worked in as advisor to former Greens leaders Richard Di Natale and Christine Milne. And Christine described Sophie as funny, generous and kind, a dogged and resourceful climate activist and communicator, and a beautiful person. Sophie staffed me at the Climate COP21 meeting in Paris in 2015, which Christine also attended. Few people would accuse Christine Milne of being anything less than 100% committed to climate action, and yet she recalls that Sophie chided us for taking an afternoon to explore Paris because you cannot pause on an existential crisis. Every moment matters. Sophie became a dedicated advocate to raise the age, working as Executive Officer of Change the Record and with Australian Lawyers for Human Rights. Her work to raise the age of criminal responsibility was awarded the 2020 ACT Youth Coalition Award and Liberty Victoria's 2023 Voltaire Award for Human Rights. She played down these awards, said she hadn't done anything and was only interested in how she could use the awards to boost the campaign. It's beyond a tragedy that Sophie did not have another 27 years, or many more. To her friends, her family, her partner Tom, the love of her life, on behalf of all of our Greens team, we're so lucky to know her. My deepest condolences. I hope that the collective love for Sophie comforts you and that her death reminds us all to stop mucking around and take action. Get kids out of prisons, get refugees out of detention, stop approving new coal and gas, love boldly, be kind and have fun. No matter what doubts she may have had, Sophie Trevitt was always a magpie. She was glorious. She dedicated her life to showing up, standing up, holding firm and fighting for the things that matter. We owe it to her all to now stretch our wings and reclaim the sky.
In the tribute to Sophie Trevitt in The Guardian was written, Sophie's wish was for her story to inspire others to make a difference in the world. She urged us to be kind, brave and to fight for justice and the safety of all people. Words to live by. Can we please give a round of applause to our Voltaire winner? I'd now like to invite Anne Trevitt and Elizabeth Pryor-Johnson to accept the Voltaire Award, if it's on her behalf.
Sophie would have been very humble to have been here to accept this award tonight and very proud. I'm very, very proud of my wonderful daughter. And she would have definitely said that she wanted to share this award with everyone who'd helped her in her campaign to raise the age, from the people at the grassroots level, the mothers and the grandmothers, and all the people that she worked with, lawyers, doctors, certainly with the people with Change the Record. She thought that was the most wonderful organisation. I remember when she first applied for a job with Change the Record and she missed out, and she said to me that she really wanted this job because this is the job that she felt she could make the most use of her talents. And then when she got the job with Change the Record the second time, she rang me so full of excitement. She said, I've got the dream job of my life. She said, this is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. And she certainly made the most of it. So I commend Sophie to you.